Skyward Crowbar 1. Posted Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 3:12. I just bought Tokitori 2 Plus and Edge in the eShop, and every time Tokitori gets to the install portion of its download, it stalls out at 4% and won't budge from there. I have had to download it multiple times now to no avail. I just plugged in my 1 terabyte Seagate external hard drive. Perhaps there's a compatibility issue?
No, it's a gun.
Seeing as you've had issues with this and Batman saving, it will be your hard drive. I can't remember if you have to format the hard drive, but I think you do. Go into System Settings and play around in the System Memory part. When I plugged in the hard drive, my Wii U prompted me to format it and I did. I just formatted it again from System Settings and am attempting to download just Tokitori 2 Plus again. Edit, this attempt failed as well. This is becoming highly frustrating. For some reason, the end result is always a freeze-up that can't be hard reset. I have to unplug the machine.
Yeah, this montadagatedegetyumukupu is broken.
I had something similar, maybe it will help. I bought a hard drive because I had little space left. So I connected it to the Wii U, did the format etc., but I couldn't download because the Wii U memory was full. It didn't want to download directly to my Wii U. I had to move everything from my Wii U to the hard drive manually to get some free space. Then it started to download and then again I moved it to my hard drive. A bit awkward.
Beside the things that were already mentioned, does your external HDD have its own power supply? If not, you better use a Y cable. NSFW Nintendo Network ID, limited_2112 author message. Codeine 6. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 10:19. Spanjard wrote, I had something similar, maybe it will help. I bought a hard drive because I had little space left. So I connected it to the Wii U, did the format etc., but I couldn't download because the Wii U memory was full. It didn't want to download directly to my Wii U. I had to move everything from my Wii U to the hard drive manually to get some free space. Then it started to download and then again I moved it to my hard drive. A bit awkward. So how do people with 8 GB Wii U's download retail games that are larger than that? Beside the things that were already mentioned, does your external HDD have its own power supply? If not, you better use a Y cable. NSFW Nintendo Network ID, limited_2112 author message. Codeine 6. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 10:19. Spanjard wrote, I had something similar, maybe it will help. I bought a hard drive because I had little space left. So I connected it to the Wii U, did the format etc., but I couldn't download because the Wii U memory was full. It didn't want to download directly to my Wii U. I had to move everything from my Wii U to the hard drive manually to get some free space. Then it started to download and then again I moved it to my hard drive. A bit awkward. So how do people with 8 GB Wii U's download retail games that are larger than that? Lopez 96 1. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 7:05. http://in.mobile.reuters.com/article/edinal3 and 0L412T201401330 Read near the bottom. This is a supposed briefing of the other day of Iwata. Some of this looks new from the others I've seen. Lopez 96 author message. MAB2. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 7:09. Sounds like a Zelda game. Forever living to inappropriately touch the mentalities of armchair internet gaming analysts and worthless console war fanboys. Let their sad stories burn eternally within my inbox furnace of hell. Wii U and Steam Box Digital 4-Live Baby. Author message. Lopez 96 3. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 7:10. Does that system merge sound like anything, or do you think people are adding stuff to the briefing?
Gun down that stuff.
We've known for a year that they were seeking to increase the commonality between their handheld and console line. Much too soon to read too much into it, but the eventual possibilities are intriguing to consider, and it appears like a good direction to move towards. A lot of their woes these days are due to the demands of supporting two very different kinds of platforms.
Montadagatedegetyumukupu, montadagatedegetyumukupu, montadagatedegetyumukupu. Montadagatedegetyumukupu. We've known for a year that they were seeking to increase the commonality between their handheld and console line. Much too soon to read too much into it, but the eventual possibilities are intriguing to consider, and it appears like a good direction to move towards. A lot of their woes these days are due to the demands of supporting two very different kinds of platforms. Alright boy, author message. Unrandomsome 5. Posted, Sunday the 2nd of February 2014 7:35.
They don't need to be identical, just similar. There's no reason that the resolution, some visual effects, and such couldn't be toned down for a more modest handheld approach while running at 100% on a console. PC gaming has allowed the user to tailor the experience to the capabilities of their system for many years, and there are several Nintendo examples over the years. Super Game Boy enhanced cartridges, cross-compatible GB/GBC cartridges that played with enhancements on a GBC, and optional expansion pack-enabled releases on the N64 come to mind.
Software doesn't even necessarily have to be cross-compatible. The more similarities there are, the more economies of scale Nintendo can enjoy, since their resources will be more applicable to both, such as R&D expenditures. Porting projects to both lines will much simpler than it is today, etc. Consumers wouldn't necessarily stand to benefit in obvious ways though, so I'm crossing my fingers that the consumer end of their business will also be merged. It doesn't even necessarily need to include hardware out of the box that handles both console and portable gaming. Just sharing the same software library will be great, rather than Nintendo spreading their resources across two different lines. Let the customer make the decision on if they want a next-general console or next-general handheld from Nintendo, rather than making the hardware cost be exorbitant by including both capabilities out of the box. But I think it's key that they share the same library if they're going to resurrect their console business and maintain their handheld business that has shown signs of weakness this generation. They're spreading themselves too thin these days, supporting two fully independent lines. They don't need to be even similar, they just need to make it so the main console has a feature set that overlaps. The Wii U has that already over the 3DS and DS because it has two screens, camera and all of the right buttons. If they wanted to, they could have had development of games that ran across both going already. Monster Hunter is an example of this already, so is Smash Bros. In a way, and I suppose Resident Evil Revelations. It used to be that the gap between the portable and handheld was so vast that this was impossible. The Game Boy couldn't dream of doing anything like what was possible on the SNES or N64. The BA had no hope of copying the GameCube. The DS even couldn't really compete with what was possible on the Wii. It was mostly getting SNES ports. 3DS. With updated textures, games like Luigi's Mansion 2 or Kid Icarus Uprising could have looked pretty good on Wii or Wii U.
They can, but it's much more expensive. The Wii U's PowerPC-based architecture is significantly different than the 3DS's ARM-based processor. They can do parallel development, but the cost is much greater than if they had a more similar hardware basis. Is not the point of this to stretch their limited resources further than they could in the past? As I see it, minimizing modifying code during the porting process certainly must be desirable, and that means code that can be transferred with a minimum of fuss. That calls for similar hardware architecture, and I believe that we'll see that with their next generation of hardware.
Just ignore the architecture differences because in the grand scheme of things that's not relevant. They can easily change that with the next generation portable. That's not the point either of us are making. We were both agreeing that this bringing the gap could be done with software rather than with a half handheld, half main console hybrid. The clunky mini-me style option. What I was saying was that in 1998, when they were building games for the Game Boy Color, there was no way those games would have been acceptable in any form on the N64. As time has gone on, the gap between what is done on the portable and what's done on the console has shrunk. To the point where now games that are literally ports up from the 3DS are a thing. That's what they mean when they talk about bringing the two together, I would assume.
Group of symbols E.
With the recent announcement that DS games will be coming to the Wii U Virtual Console, I figured it would be nice for people to list some of the games they would love to play on the big screen. The first games that came to my mind was Bowser's Inside Story. I would love to play me some Mario RPGs on my TV. Any ideas?
Defy 90 Phoenix Wright games. I always wanted to play those. And also Chrono Trigger Definitive Edition or whatever it's called on the DS. Edit, more games. Final Fantasy IV, Zelda Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass and Fire Emblem.
Group of E's.
Phoenix Wright Tetralogy 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors Chrono Trigger Dragon Quest IV. V6, and 9 Final Fantasy 3, 4, and the 4 Heroes of Light Radiant Historia Legend of Zelda, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon Advance Wars, Dual Strike Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Order of Ecclesia and Portrait of Ruined Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume.
Super Princess Peach, don't ask me why. Sonic Rush Adventure Yoshi's Island DS Sonic Chronicles, Dark Brotherhood WarioWare Touched. Metroid Prime Hunters Mario Kart DS. Pretty silly we are getting DS games, which are still available in stores for nothing, before we get N64 or GameCube games. And on the Wii U and not the 3DS. Ah well, gimme them Zelda and Metroid games I never played. Q Games DC War releases, specifically Starship Defense/Defender, whatever it was called. Metro is Prime Pinball. Other than that I'm not sure, to be honest. Mostly I bought DC War and games from third parties, often Japanese imports. I cannot imagine that the Mario Battle Mahjong game I gave to my daughter would see the light of day outside of Japan.
Daughter.
These are forum posts.
O, group of symbols. E, group of symbols. E,
group of symbols. E, group of symbols. E, group of symbols. E, group of symbols. E, group of symbols.
Metal Slug 7 Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon Advance Wars, Dual Strike Advance Wars, Days of Ruin Custom Robo Arena Dragon Quest LV, VL, Ampersand Elect Summon Night 1, 2, Ampersand Twin Age Castlevania, Dawn of Sorrow Another Code Children of Mana Contra 4 Disc GADS Etrian Odyssey 2, Ampersand LLL Final Fantasy LV Luminous Arc, 2, 3?
I think Nintendo may be looking at the fact that the DS had a huge consumer audience. So maybe they are trying to tap in that to somehow pick up Wii U sales. Group of dots. Although I agree with you, GameCube and the N64, even though with its sole screen, would make much more sense. Also, I think a subscription service for the VC isn't a bad idea. If only Nintendo was serious about pushing the games. Group of dots, peso tilde and tilde so for a month/6 months/12 months. And get these VC games free every month. Act 17. Posted Thursday the 30th of January 2014 9:59. Retro Game Challenge for all you chumps who don't own 2 copies, like me. And Konami Arcade Classics Collection. Nothing beats Arcade Contra, one of my fave arcade games of all time. I beat it once a week. There are actually loads of others I could list. Radiant Historia, Infinite Space, Suikoden, Tekrais, Avalon Code, Yoshi Touch and Go, Dual Strike, Days of Ruin, Bangai Spirit, Mega Man ZX Advent, Mega Man Zero Collection, Bleach, Blade of Fates, Dark Souls DQV, and 9 Monster Tale Okamidon.
Sorry, I montadagatedegetyumukupu. The only ones I'd want are the overpriced ones I don't have. All I can think of is Kirby, Squeak Squad and The World Ends With You. I'd much rather have the titles on the Wii U or 3DS.
If the Wii U VC versions of DS games allow you to link with this, then I'd buy Dig Dug Digging Strike if it comes to the service so I could finally see what that game's multiplayer is like. That game doesn't have download play. I'd also download Big Brain Academy, Point Blank DS, We're Touched. Will all of these games be easy to play with the Wii U though? They work on the DS because the 2 screens are so close together. You can look at the bottom screen and see the top screen without much effort. If you are playing the game on Wii U and your TV is on the wall, and you are sitting across the room with the gamepad on your lap, you will be spending a ton of time moving your head up and down to see both screens, rather than just glancing up and down like you would on the DS. Unless you play with your arms outstretched while holding the gamepad, I think these games won't play as easily as they did on the DS. The only game on my list that would provide any trouble would be Yoshi Touch and Go, but since it only uses the touch screen, you could just flip the gamepad vertically to combine the 2 screens. All the others from my list would play more or less fantastically with 2 separate screens.
Mario Kart DS. Just so it'll finally bring down the retail price of the game so I can buy it for my 3DS. Still can't believe it's being sold at launch price to this day.
DS. Or 1 million DS.
Group of 10.
Man, the DS Lite was such an amazing console. Anybody else favor it over the 3DS? There was just too much 2D goodness, and amazing third-party support, and experimental ideas. As much as I love the 3DS's stereoscopic 3D, Swap note, before it was butchered, and VC, I'd still give the nod to the DS. Not the biggest fan of traditionally controlled single quote 3D single quote as in polygon video games.
There's an important puzzle that requires you to close the DS to join both screens for something. For the record, the 2DS has a sleep mode button to serve the purpose.
Sleep montadagatedegetyumukupu?
Mode. I'm honestly not very excited about this. There's nothing specific I can think of that would get me to buy, but for the right price I might pick up a game I've already played or a new one if it catches my interest. To be honest, they should vid acapela-group games up for download by now. They announced it before the system even launched. That got me all excited and I couldn't wait, so now I have a ton of actual acapela-group games again, and probably won't buy any of the games they release, if they actually do, because I have the majority of the games I've wanted to play already, and the ones I don't they probably won't release anyhow. Montadagatedegetyumukupu.
Montadagatedegetyumukupu. Despite the way you struggling, this would make a lot more sense for the 3DS, honestly. Same with the Game Boy Advance games we have yet to see. I really hope they eventually announce this for the 3DS as well, because I want to be able to play retro handheld games on a handheld console.
Icarus 42352. Posted Saturday the 1st of February 2014 7:25. I am personally excited about DS games on Wii U because it is one step closer to fulfilling my wildest fantasies of playing all Nintendo games on one system. But like everyone else is saying, so far they have announced 5 platforms for Wii U VC, and we still only get the slowest trickle of NES and SNES, on rare occasion, games. Also, as far as DS games I'd want are the Castlevania games, Trace Memory, Hotel Dusk Room 215, and import Tales of Innocence and Tales of Hearts.
Silly me, I figured they would be bringing acapela-group games to a home console, not DS games that you can already play on your 3DS. I know, right? Silly me. Montadagatedegetyumukupu. Montadagatedegetyumukupu.
Montadagatedegetyumukupu.
Yes. Montadagatedegetyumukupu.
Montadagatedegetyumukupu is a spice.